Hey, Star Wars fans, welcome back to Rule the Galaxy. The family is getting back together. We've been doing a lot of solo shows and one off things, but guess what? A lot of the crew is here tonight. You've got Joe in the pilot seat. And before I go around and hit the intros, remember to follow us at Rule the Galaxy SW on Twitter. Email us at ruletheGalaxySW@gmail.com. And as many more of you are, check us out on YouTube. We've been getting some really good reviews on YouTube. So I'm really excited about that because none of us are really that handsome and people are still watching. So just check out Rule of the Galaxy. But before we take off and get going on this show tonight, I'll just go counterclockwise in front of me. Biggin, Brent Dykman, glad to have you back from sunny Florida.
Yeah, I got the first mow in of the season. I know most people would get that mow in probably over the weekend, but I'm a little bit on the lazy side and I got it in today. Just safe to say the backyard is a little bit bumpier than I remember. It was a shaking affair, but
you made it
not. I did. It was not easy. I was listening to some podcasts as I was going. Listen to our friend Nick Shesky and his Clone Wars podcast. But yeah, looking forward to this evening and talking some Rebels, some news, sharing some adventures, all of that jazz.
Yeah, we want to hear all about Rise of Resistance, all that stuff. So we'll get right back to you on that. You threw the man's name out there. Nick Shesky starting to be a star of the podcast world doing his Clone Wars Chronicles. Nick, glad to have you back with all of us together here. How are things tonight?
Hey, I'm great. I'm glad to be here. Brent, I hope it was a good listen and that it wasn't halfway through ripping that earphones out saying I can listen to something better on here. No, I'm doing good. Good week so far, coming off the Easter weekend and just getting back in the swing of things. So yeah, doing well. Glad to be here tonight.
Good. And last but not least, the man with the clean haircut tonight, Ryan Massingale. Mass, how are you, brother?
I'm doing good, Joe. How about you? How's your week going?
Thanks for asking. Softball? Yeah, softball season started. We've got 2 games in. We ruled somebody last night, which was fabulous. Our first game of the year. Tonight we took one on the chin. We lost. We lost at Center Grove, but showed a lot of grit, a lot of effort. There are some very strong, tall, almost looking like linebacker young ladies that play softball. And they're really good, and that's okay. But you know what? We have fun, we get better, and we learn to get through adversity and move on to the next thing. So 2 games in, 1-1 for the season. Thank you for asking. Brent, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that Mass looks like he's channeling his inner Lex Luger.
Luthor?
Lex Luthor, sorry. Lex Luthor, not
his
Luthor,
inner
sorry.
German pistol is what he's
Well, I tell you what, we've had a lot of stuff going on. Yes, Nick has been doing his second. He's got 2 episodes in of Clone Wars Chronicles, and people have been telling us great things about those. And Nick, I've been giving them a listen. So thanks for doing that with your buddy Sam.
Yeah, super fun.
Yeah, it's been great to listen to you guys and to not run a show and to just actually listen to my friends do one. It is awesome. I really enjoy that. So are is Sam liking it? Is he feeling good about it?
You know what? Sam is loving it. We were texting a little bit today about what do we do next and where do we go? And we have officially got Sam on Twitter now. So he was not a Twitter guy, but he jumped on. He texted me the other day and he said, who do I need to follow? I said, just go to the Rule of the Galaxy page and just go follow everybody that Rule of the Galaxy follows. Give him a follow back. So he's a big time Rebels guy.
Okay.
His tag on his profile, it's a long way to Alderaan.
Okay. Long way to Alderaan, which is from one of your shows
later today.
Yeah. Sorry, Nick, you're hopping out there real quick. So we'll put his tag at the end of end of the show.
He's back. Yeah.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Is it me?
No. This
actually...
time this is our new show sponsor, Nick Shesky, I believe, who is in the technical difficulty.
You know what? It's like a running tonight. Curse. Okay, if you're gonna run a show, guess what? You're gonna get plagued with internet problems. It's gonna happen. Get Comcast out here, man.
I love the slow. It's like the drunk. He was doing drunk speech there. So
It really did sound
did.
that way.
yes, we're okay. We're all right. So Brent, I'm going to start with you, if that's all right. We good?
Sounds good. Yeah. Let's do this.
You went to sunny Florida.
I did.
Most of us, I know Nick, myself, and Joey, and Tony, and Vinny, have all been to Galaxy's Edge. This was your first experience. You
Mhm.
had your daughter with you, I believe. Was your wife with you at Galaxy's Edge as well?
Yeah, they let me go and explore on my own.
Okay.
They went through Smuggler's Run, and they also rode Rise of the Resistance. So they rode the two major rides. But about midday, you had to wait in line for everything. So midday they wanted to go back because they were tired because the day started early. So because they went back, we stayed in the park.
Okay.
And I was able just to kind of walk around with another Star Wars buddy, Brian McKenney. So
Yeah.
we were able to walk around, and Emma, his daughter, who's now a high school senior, it was her senior trip, but she kind of spent time with us. And so we were able to go around the shops at the Black Spire Outpost, and see kind of what they had and what they do. And then just walk around and just be in the world for a little bit longer. I wish I would have gotten Scott Riffin's book before I went, because he showed that and I just didn't know what it was, because I think it said it was how to interact with some of the people there.
Yes.
One of the cool things was I went to like one of the carts, and I just started talking to them, and like, so I wanted their little Coke bottle. I have like the little bomb Coke bottle.
Yep.
I brought it home, and they're like 7 credits, and I was like, that's awesome that you asked for credits. Like they like, and I was like, but are Republic credits good out here? And I was like, or where are we at? And they're like, the other lady, because there was 2 of them. The lady was like, oh, we're on the edge of the galaxy. I was like, oh, that's right, because we're at Galaxy's Edge. So is that mid rim, outer rim? Oh, we're at the edge of the galaxy, the outer rims, right? And then I was like, they were talking about, I was like, is the First Order going to take over? They're like, I hope not. And when the guy that was working was like, well, I hope so, because it'd get rid of all my debt. Right. So like, I mean, so there was just like, right. So they have like created, they can create their own, I believe, and they create kind of their own backstories. And if you find the right, and you ask the right questions, you can kind of get them talking and interacting with them. And it's not as interactive because of COVID, but they were still able to do it. And I just didn't have the right like list of questions to kind of keep the banter going. But it made me happy when they were like, yeah, 7 credits. And I just like internally, I was like, that's awesome that they were just asking for credits. So that was cool. We got to Olga's Cantina, so I'll go with that one. Got reservations to sit in there. I think the reason why Alfie liked it is because of the concoctions that you can get. They have some, like, if you saw it on the screen, they have a drink that would kind of do that. So what I'm getting at is I can't remember what it was, but it had a CO2 cartridge on the bottom of it, and it put giant bubbles all the way through and it bubbled, and like it had like little like gelatin peas in there that would cycle through in the drink. So it was like this visual drink that was just like cycling. It was like the Bespin Fizz or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so they have Star Warsy names, and they're all kind of fruity tasting. I got an alcoholic drink. The one I got, it had tequila in it, and I was like, I'll give it a try. Not I didn't go the right way with it.
Okay.
But so like we tried 3 of them, and then we had they basically had a Star Wars charcuterie board. So they came out like it was a meat and cheese plate, right? Yeah. I mean, but it wasn't called a charcuterie board. I can't remember what it was called. It had a very Star Warsy name, but we called it the Star Wars charcuterie board. And they came out with like capicola, and they had like it was basically like it tasted like spam, like a fried spam, but they had names for it.
Sounds so good.
Yeah, and then they had like I mean, the fried spam wasn't that bad.
Was it porg?
No, it wasn't porg. Gosh. But it was really cool because it was set and it looked just like the Cantina, and we got to sit in one of the booths, and that was freaking cool just to look up and see basically the Cantina. And then I asked the waitress there, I said, she's like, when she came over initially, she's like, what do you guys have? And better make it legal or something like that. I was like, well, can I get a shipment of spice? Where can I get my spice? And she's like, don't talk. That's too loud. You're talking too loud around here.
That's awesome.
So just trying to mess around and like have fun and interact with him was awesome. So just walking around that, the First Order troopers came out and interacted with the crowd. They didn't come off of the stage,
Right.
but they stayed on the stage and they pointed at people and were like, are you a resistance spy? And so I'm not like, I couldn't tell if it was just the character, like if it was a recording and they knew how to interact with it, or if it was just them talking. I was leaning more towards it was a recording and they just know how to pantomime to the recording because they've seen it so many times and they've done it so many times. But it was pretty cool. And then every now and then, like there was like a sound of a ship flying overhead. So the stormtroopers would look up. Like, so the First Order troopers would look up and like kind of look around and when it went over the head.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was like, so those were cool. Chewie came out and stood on top of like the little workshop with Rey. And then Rey came out and kind of looked up and started yelling at Chewie about something back and forth. And then he went with his little, I can't do it right now, but the Wookiee roar. And so
that was Wookiee. I thought you were doing Porg again right there.
Yeah, right. So, and then she went back around and started tinkering around with like a land speeder. And then like little kids that were dressed like Rey, she'd come out and wave to them.
Oh, cool.
But she stayed in. And then there was like a mom that was dressed like a Rey. But it was cool. Like she would recognize them and like walk out and take a picture, but they wouldn't get too close. We weren't able to do like the droid, like we didn't get, because you had to get a reservation to do the lightsaber and the droid. That wasn't as important as trying to get the Rise of the Resistance. So I know I'm talking for a while. I apologize to you guys at home. Go for it, Nick.
Well,
did we lose Nick?
Again, he's got his hand still up, so I'm not sure if he knows
Nick
he was called on.
Number one.
you can still hear me. Here's my question.
We could. I'm going to ask in place of Nick. How's that?
Okay.
Which was better, the Smuggler's Run or Rise of the Resistance?
Dude, Smuggler's Run was so fun because I got to sit in the Chewie seat and I got to jump into hyperspace and I couldn't fly the ship for crap, but it was amazing to not be able to fly the ship for crap. Because Joe, you're shaking your head because you know this is right? I mean, it was just like I was like, punch it, and I pulled the lever and it went to hyperspace and it was awesome. And we took off and I tried to go up. I tried to go up because I was the up down guy. So I was trying to go up and over this transport ship, and I actually ran smack dab into it because I was trying to go above it when I should have gone under it. And I ran smack dab into it. And then the senior friend, Emma, was doing the left and right. And so she couldn't get connected with the train at the end. And it was cool, but I couldn't fly for crap. But I was laughing and I had the greatest time flying it. But I was going to get to the whole experience of the Rise of the Resistance.
Okay.
So it's a long day because at this point you got to go 2 times, and they've changed it since you've been there, Joe. You can log on at 7 a.m. to try to get into the virtual queue. So this is open to absolutely everyone. At 7 a.m. if you have a reservation for Hollywood Studios. And at this point, like, because they're only doing like a 40% maximum in each of the parks, so it's even less than half of their full. Anyways, 7 a.m., anyone who's going to Hollywood Studios can log on at 7 a.m. and get in the virtual queue. There are videos devoted to how to get in line as quick as possible. I had to watch these 15-minute videos beforehand, so I knew the day before I knew how to do it. Brian and I woke up at 6:30. We walked to an area where we thought we were going to have the best service we could, because you wanted to make sure that you turned off your Wi-Fi and you had the highest, fastest access. Turn off all of your background updates, so everything is focused on getting you in to this virtual queue. You have to smash join. I'm not kidding. You go join, and you have to go that fast, or you don't get in. At 7 a.m. on the money.
Yep.
As soon as your clock switches, and I think my clock was back off by like 1 second because he went faster than I did. At 7 a.m. when my clock went to 7:00, did not make it in.
Nope.
Both of us missed out.
It's
It is
tough.
ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Like at 7 a.m. and I said it on the video. If you watch the YouTube video that I made, at 7 a.m. in 15 seconds, it was more like 7 a.m. in like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So the second time you can do it is you have to be in the park at 1 o'clock. So that's when everybody was basically, because they were fried. Because here's a little for anybody who's a Disney fan, anybody planning to go to Disney during COVID, what they're not telling people is that they are actually letting people who stay on property all on property people get in about an hour early.
Wow.
So if the park was scheduled to be open at 9 o'clock and you're staying on property, you can actually get in at about 8:15. So we were able to go to Hollywood Studios and rode 4 rides before the park even opened to the general public.
That's
so there was
awesome.
only about 20% people that were there. However, we had to get there, right? Right. So it was early. So it's an early day. So that's why they took off and went home and went and like took a nap or went and played in the pool. And then we were able at 1 o'clock. It's only open to the people that didn't go and get in line the first time and are in the park. So I feel like you've eliminated about half of the people.
Agreed.
So at 1 o'clock, we were able to get in. So we were able to get into the Rise of Resistance. Now, how much detail do you want to go and how many spoilers? How much do you want me to give? Because I can go and give you all the details of it because it's not just a ride, it's an experience. And I just don't want to give too much away. And I know
I don't think it'd be good because I think anybody who's listening probably wants to experience it themselves. But I would say this: when you got on and you got off, your text to me was, dude. Dude. And I was like, son of a fuck. I was like, he got on and it was that good. So
I mean, honestly, it was more like, dude. Like that was the way that I was saying it in my head as I was typing it. Yeah, that's a perfect, yeah. So I'm not going to give too much away, but there are YouTube videos of people who have got on. It is more than a ride. There is an interactive experience with it. So the ride itself is probably about 5 minutes-ish, 10 minutes-ish long, but there are parts to the ride that are interactive. And so you get on a transport and you're flying around and the video screens are the clearest video screens you've ever seen. So you're on this transport. So you load up, there's 2 doors, one on the right, one on the left. It's like a double doored elevator, right? So if you think about that, I mean, it's bigger than that, but this is this transport that's taking you. It's a resistance ship. You enter on, let's say, the left side door. You go through the ride. Part of the ride is them catching you on a Star Destroyer. And a first order officer comes on the same door that you went in on. Not on the opposite side, on the same door you went in on. And you're in a completely different location when you exit because they're like, get off the vehicle. You are now part of the first order. You are under arrest. We are going to take you and put you in prison. And like, that's like a cast member. It's a live person that comes on, steps on in garb, in first order garb, and tells you and gets you off of the ship, off of the transport. But they come in on the same side that you went in on. And I'll stop there because there's more that happens after that. And then like, so you're walking around and there's more cast members that interact with you before you even get on to like the buckled in part of the ride. And they harass you. Like there's like, so their first order, like, tell us where the hidden base is. What? You're supposed to be smart. You guys aren't smart. And like, just kind of like joke or like insult you, move quicker, move faster, and stuff like that. It's like, it's interactive in that way. And then they will go back and forth with you every now and then. Like, and it's, so that was the cool part. And then you ride on the ride and you see Star Wars stuff and like the video screens, you can't even tell that it's video.
Right.
It's like you're looking out and there's a space battle going on the side windows and it looks like there's a space battle going on and you cannot tell. It's like 4K video. You cannot tell that that it's a screen. And that just amazed me. It looks real. And from what my friend was saying is that's basically what the hotel is going to look like as well. Yes. As you're walking around the hotel and in your rooms, that's what the rooms are going to look like. And it's what it's going to look like outside that room. So Clear as a bell. Clear as a bell. My daughter, who she even said it on the review when I did the review of it. She said she doesn't care much about Star Wars, but you got to ride that ride. Because my wife's best friend, who doesn't like Star Wars, couldn't stop talking about it to the next day. Like she woke up and she's like, that was awesome, because of the interactive and all the other stuff that goes on with it.
That's awesome.
So I'm not going to give you too many like spoilers. There are videos out there with it. But it's more than just the buckle up ride. There is, like, for Star Wars fans, there's interactive pieces where you interact with First Order officers and stuff.
So I feel like my experience, as you all know, back in the fall, I couldn't get into Olga's Cantina and I couldn't get on Rise of the Resistance. But I still had a good time, still liked it a lot. I just know how much I missed out on. And that's I mean, it means that we as a group need to go do that, because I need to see it. So did anybody have any questions for Brent before I head on to Mass and his Great Ohio Toy Show memories? Anybody feel like Brent hit this? Go ahead, Nick.
Well, I had a question, and we'll see if I can make it through without disappearing again. But you said that the characters interacted with you. Was there any interaction around like the wearing of masks, or did they just like avoid the conversation altogether? Like,
no, curious. I mean, they were wearing them as well. I mean, so they're wearing them as well. So no, they really didn't say much about it. They might have actually, if you had it below your nose or whatever, they might have made an insult on you to pull it up as a way to try to make sure you're following the rules.
So in universe, out of universe, mix it together.
Right,
Gotcha.
right. And that's I would feel that would be the way that they would handle it. But no, they didn't really bring up the mask wearing. I mean, everybody was told to wear a mask. Like, you couldn't get you can't go more than 10 feet with it down without somebody saying something to you.
Yep.
And it's what I wear in school, so I'm so used to it.
Right.
Like, I mean, it didn't bother me.
I was imagining like a space pandemic, and it was like that. You know, we've had some backstory as to why we're. I don't know.
No. Like, there is a backstory of why you're on why you got pulled on to the First Order Star Destroyer, and like that's more of what they interacted with you about. But here's another one, like, so because you're normally in numbers, right? Like, that's the way they normally do Disney's numbers, but they then, like, because of the pandemic, they let the group stay together on colored dots.
Right.
So the guy picked on the senior trip student, and she said, like, he's like, so what color are you standing on? And she was in the orange group, but she was standing on the Star Destroyer black floor. So she said orange. She said, no, you're not. You're standing on black. And just like looked at her, like, because she's like, I'm on orange. Like, he's like, what group are you with? Orange. No, you're not. You're on black. And he's like, haha, made it funny. Now where's the base? And like, I mean, it was just, it was so awkward that it was actually kind of funny. Like, I know I didn't do the best justice, but he was just like harassing her and then trying to like harass her about not being so bright and about the First Order was better and that the Resistance doesn't know what they're doing, type of a thing.
Okay, sounds about right for the First Order. Anyway, ripping on people, being
bad jokes.
Yeah.
And they all had like British accents too. It was really funny.
Really? Okay.
Like all the First Order ones kind of had these British accents. I just laughed.
Interesting. Well, it follows a theme. Most Imperial guys had that as well. Thank you for the recap. It sounds like you had a great trip, and now you make me want to go back and spend lots of money and do it again.
Yeah.
Next time we'll have Mass, pay for it, and send us on our way. Mass. A couple weeks ago, I talked to you into waking up very early on a Saturday morning and driving to Ohio with me and Alfie.
Mm-hmm.
We went to the Great Ohio Toy Show.
We did.
You thought it was going to be a bad thing, but I don't think you thought that afterwards.
No. Well, when I thought, you said it was going to be like 5 buildings in this fairground, and I thought we were going to be the 3 guys walking around these 5 buildings looking at toys, but it was actually a lot of fun, and I didn't think it was going to be, and
and he still went.
I did.
I thought you were full of crap, Joe, but turns out it was awesome.
Yeah. So, but it I didn't buy a lot of stuff, but it did definitely bring back a lot of memories. It reminded me of when I was young, like stuff that, you know, I had a Lone Ranger like 6-inch action figure when I was a kid, and I saw one of those, and I was like, you know, I saw a lot of stuff that I wasn't expecting to see, and there was a lot of cool stuff there. Like if I had the space in the house for all that stuff, I would have bought a lot more stuff, but I definitely had a good time. And then, you know, Alfie ended up getting some free stuff, and that kind of pissed me off. And
Me too. He did. He said, "Oh, it's for my daughter." The guy's like, "Oh, take it."
What did you
We're
get?
like Star Wars Galactic Heroes, the little tiny ones for his daughter. Yeah, he just handed the guy handed him a bag of them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But yeah, it actually was a lot of fun.
And how many people would you say were there?
Oh, well, when we got there, it was like I mean, we had to wait like in the street, in the car for a long time to get into the place. I mean, the place was packed. Like I'm sure it was like, you know, if there would have been pandemic guys there, they would have shut that place down. I mean, it was packed solid in all the buildings. But yeah,
hey, we all wore masks.
We didn't make it to all 5 buildings. We only made it to 4, and we were like, oh, we gotta go. We gotta get out of here.
Yes.
How long were you there? So like at like 3 hours?
4. I think we were there for about 4 hours, weren't we?
Wow.
It might have been longer than that.
Yeah, it might have been longer. I mean, the first building alone took over an hour.
Yeah,
wow.
we were
an hour.
First building for an hour and 15 minutes, and we could have like kept walking around in the same building too. I mean, there was so much neat stuff in there.
So what's the one thing that you kick yourself or that you wish you would have purchased at this point right now?
Well, if I'd have had, you know, $250 just at the ease, I would have bought a new Millennium Falcon.
Oh.
But yeah,
that's what you've been dying to get. You're the one that got it at Christmas morning.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you've been dying to get it ever since, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
There were boxed ones from the sequels. There were boxed ones from the prequels. There were boxed ones from the 70s that you could, depending on what you wanted to spend, they had all of them in boxes.
How much was the one from the 70s?
Oh, it was more than the 250. Yeah. It was like 350.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it was, I mean, there were all kinds of toys, man. There was all kinds of Marvel stuff, all kinds of G.I. Joe stuff from like, you know, like the original G.I. Joe characters. They had like all these toy guns, like really old ones, like old Winchesters and stuff, like cap guns. And it was crazy.
What was the one thing you did buy, Mass? We put it on the YouTube video. It was from Forgotten Realms.
Yeah, I've been reading these Forgotten Realms books since I was a teenager, and so there's this one character there's like 30 books about the guy. And so they had an action figure of him, which I had never seen before. So I picked that up, and it's sitting on the bookshelves with all the 30 books about him. But yeah, it surprised me because I didn't even know they existed, and so I bought that. Yeah.
In package or out of package?
It's in the package.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was really cool. It was. I spent entirely too much money. Alfie didn't because he got some free stuff, but he still bought a lot of stuff. But it was honestly, Mass, I think you agree. Like you said, if we had space and if we had more discretionary funds, we would have been able to buy anything and everything we wanted. So
the one thing I remember Alfie saying was what he said, he needed a tractor trailer that he could pull in there.
Because I just back a truck up, boys. So I just back a truck up.
That's awesome.
So Joe, the same question to you is, what is the one thing that you remember that, like, if you had the money and the time, what did you pass on that you really like, either kicking yourself or you can't stop thinking about now that we're talking about it?
Joe's list is long, Grasshopper.
So Mass was doing his due diligence in finding everything that he knew I would like. And going, he would go, Joe, you need this. And what? Yeah, that's Alfie's Death Trooper, by the way.
Come on, that
Yeah, I know.
one's sweet.
It is nice. Yeah, no, I bought a lot of stuff, but there were some other items that I held off on. There was some expensive Star Wars stuff that I just said I want that, but there's no way I need to spend that kind of money on those things. And yeah,
I pointed out about 6 of the Black Series Star Wars that I'm like, you don't have this one. You don't have this one. He was like, I know. Just stop showing me.
So you're the devil on the shoulder, then.
Yeah, you're just digging him a deeper grave, is what you're doing.
he definitely
Actually, that is why I went.
Just to see if you could talk him into something.
He would do that. Yeah. So, but it was a good time. And Alfie and Mass and I had a good road trip. I look forward to taking some road trips with you guys in the future. I think that'd be good for all of us to go either to, well, the Kokomo Toy Store, which they've said we could come up and do a live show there. Comic Book University, they said we could do a live show there. So we got to figure that out and do that. Post it up on YouTube or what. I was going to let you guys know, a gentleman on Twitter reached out to me. His Twitter handle is The Chosen One, a Star Wars podcast. That's what his Twitter handle and all that kind of stuff is. But he reached out and he said, hey guys, just came across your podcast this morning. Thanks to Rural Farm Boy, who always does a great job of promoting us. And he said, really enjoying the show so far. I guess it's nice to hear other guys out there talking the way I'm thinking. I picked up that you guys were from Indianapolis. My dad was a pastor there when I was a kid during the prequels era. So I have a lot of great Star Wars memories tied into that part of the world. Anyway, I'm writing too much. Keep the content coming. And then I wrote back and said, you said you were from Indy. Where are you now? He said that, let's see. Yeah, we spent 3-ish years in the Franklin area, south side of Indianapolis. Great memories. My parents are from Northern Ireland, so I ended up coming back here in my teens. He's like, I'll put a review on your show, and thanks for what you do, But The Chosen One, a Star Wars podcast, thank you. He said he's in a lull right now. He's not doing any shows right now. But he, when he does, I told him we promote those. But here's a guy who's listening to us in Northern Ireland, and I think that's kind of cool to see how worldwide this goes. So yeah, Mass.
So who was the dude that we met from Seymour that had the toy store?
I've got his business card. Oh,
and that was one of the cool things about it. I mean, we met a lot of people doing it. Didn't we meet another podcaster?
Yeah, Star Wars Collector Podcast. Yeah, Star Wars Collector Podcast. I've been tweeting about him and reaching out to him. He's from Kentucky, I believe. So he was there. Good guy. And I have actually listened to a couple of their podcasts. They know a lot about Star Wars collecting that I don't know. So
there was people dressed up as figures.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's a good time. I wish we could
who'd you get your picture taken with?
We got my picture taken with an Imperial what am I looking for? Imperial Guard in all red. And then I got my picture taken with Captain America, Captain Marvel, and Spider-Man. So that was fun too, because me and the Cap, we're me and the Cap. We're always together now. I got the Cap all around me. So I've slowly shifted. I like me some Marvel, and Cap's my guy. So another thing I wanted to talk about real quick, because we've hit on a few things, and last week, in honor of March Madness, the NCAA, the Final Four, we did a poll. We called it the Sweet Sithteen, SITH, Sweet Sithteen. We were going to start with 16 characters to match the Sithteen, but I got so many good lists from you guys, and then I got some lists from other people like Steve Glosson and other listeners, and so I put it all together. And by the time we got to the end of the list, we were close to 50 that were supposedly in the Sweet 16 of people's 16 characters. So then I had to seed them by how many votes they got. And so that was fun. I seeded them all out. So we had 8 character pools, 1 seed versus 8, just like the NCAA tournament kind of thing. It ended up that Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Darth Vader, and Anakin Skywalker were the number 1 seeds of the 4. Number 2 seeds were Princess Leia, Obi Wan Kenobi, Ahsoka, and Chewie. So, and then it goes down the list. I mean, we had Darth Bane in there, we had Din Djarin, we had Mace Windu, just a little bit of everything. Came down to the final 4, which I was, really surprised. We had Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, and in an upset, Obi Wan Kenobi as a 2 seed beat out Han Solo as a 1 seed. So we had actually an original trilogy battle in one Final Four of Luke Skywalker versus Darth Vader, and we had a prequels basically of Obi-Wan Kenobi versus Anakin Skywalker. So that was really cool. Obi-Wan defeated Anakin, and as we know already in the movies, and in part of the movies, and then Luke defeated Darth Vader. So we had Luke Skywalker versus Obi-Wan Kenobi, and literally some of these things were getting 200 plus votes on some of these on Twitter. So it was great. Go ahead, Brent.
Was there any major upset? Did we have like an 8 seed beat a 1 seed? Because I didn't follow all of them. I got my votes in, but I didn't follow all of the brackets.
Yes.
So was there any major upsets?
I don't know if it's a major, but it was an upset. We had Boba Fett somehow was a 6 seed on his amount of votes, and Thrawn was a 3 seed. Boba Fett beat Thrawn.
Okay.
So that was one.
I'm not surprised by that.
I can see that one too.
That makes sense.
Boba's a huge fan favorite.
Yeah.
Especially after season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
not surprising.
I'm looking here real quick. The other one, Palpatine was a 4 seed. Captain Rex was a 5 seed. Captain Rex beat Palpatine.
Take that, Alfie. Take that, Alfie. Take that.
I mean, it's wrong, but that's okay.
I think to go back, I think the major upset is that Boba Fett, with all the votes, is actually as low as a 6 seed.
Yeah,
like that's more of the upset than him beating Thrawn. But yes,
it was very interesting. There weren't many upsets. Believe it or not. I thought there would be, but that was the major one. Was a 6 over a 3, but. I want to do this every year. I think it was so much fun to see people interact and vote. And I really thought it would be Han or Luke or Vader or Anakin. And to have Obi-Wan beat them all out was crazy. So anyway.
When I saw the final, I think I put it out there. When I saw the final 4, my prediction was the fact that it was going to be Anakin versus Vader. Or it was that would have been awesome. It was in our tweet. It was in our text group, not on social media. I was thinking it would be Anakin versus Vader.
Well, it surprised me. But you know what? And then actually, what surprised me was Obi-Wan. I think we had 230 votes for the championship game. Obi-Wan had 80% over Luke Skywalker. It was 80-20.
That's surprising to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's surprising to me.
Not to me. Age, Twitter.
This is true.
Twitter.
True.
You're in Twitter where you're looking at, I'm saying the demographics of Twitter skew towards those that are the prequel era people, prequel and Clone Wars era.
I agree.
So I'm not saying that I'm not saying that it's overly shocking. I would think that Luke would probably be everybody's favorite. You know what I mean? But when it comes down to it, Obi-Wan has a huge following. I think there was a most recent meme that I saw that it was thank you for everything. and it was the Brady Bunch, and it was all Obi-Wans, and it was all the different Obi-Wans.
Okay.
And it was thank was one of them, you was another one, for was another one, especially you, everything. And
the especially you was the
episode 3,
Revenge of the Sith. Yeah. Obi-Wan.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, it was fun. I hope we get to do it again. We should probably do it another sports related thing with Star Wars and put that together soon. A couple just quick hits before we go talking about Rebels, because we're going to talk a little Fulcrum Files and talk about the Rebels. One, Billy D. Williams' birthday was this week. I actually felt very honored. I tweeted at him for his birthday, and I told him that one of my favorite things was him being in Modern Family, where he said, "I'm Billy D. Williams," and Gloria said, "I'm Gloria D. Wife." And so I tweeted that, and he actually liked my tweet. So hey, Billy D, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. That was great. I can't believe he actually liked it. So that was fun. But quick hits. Obi Wan cast. We talked about it last week with Steve Dawson. Obi Wan cast is out. Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru going to be in the cast. I think that's cool. I think we're going to get a surprise 10-year-old kid playing Luke Skywalker in the distance, right? Maybe not really up close, but out in the background around them. So that'll be cool. Qui-Gon Jinn, Liam Neeson was not mentioned, but I think we're going to hear his voice. I think we have to hear his voice. What do you, and to go along with that, the set was revealed. Some of the set was revealed. Somebody snuck in, took some pictures, took some video. So what are you guys thinking about Obi-Wan and everything like that?
I don't think anyone snuck in. From what it looked like, that was somebody that was working there that's soon to be fired.
Yes.
Because that was like them on a golf cart driving around, looking at the set, which it looks phenomenal, right? Like it looks like it's a Tatooine set, and everything looks awesome. My favorite part of the set was the one open building with the rounded polish, the door that was open and that you could see into the building, and it kind of had like a polished stucco. I don't know how else to explain it, but yeah, I don't know if someone snuck in. If someone snuck in, then they got around pretty good. I think that was like somebody that was working, that was just recording and threw it out there.
And I guarantee you they're fired. You're exactly right.
And if they're not fired, then they were doing it on purpose to try to prop it up. You know what I mean? Like it could have
like
been one of those,
like a fake leak.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like it. That. I like it. Go ahead, Nick.
No, I do think we'll see a 10-year-old kid because, truth be told, all this content already exists in the comic books.
It does.
So, I mean, reality is you can go and you can read. They have Luke Skywalker finds Obi Wan Kenobi's journal and has all these stories of Obi Wan Kenobi, and then there's the John Jackson Miller Kenobi book that is literally Mando season 2, the first episode where they're fighting the crate dragon over again. I think we're 100% going to see a young Luke at some capacity in this show, which I don't hate. Bring it on. What's the point of doing a whole Obi Wan Kenobi series where he's hiding out on Tatooine if you're not going to see the person who he's protecting?
Agreed. Mass, Brent, any more thoughts on Kenobi?
Okay. So what
I love long pause. That's good.
I'm hoping that he doesn't have a lot of interactions with a young Luke. I'm hoping that it's from afar. I'm hoping that it's him doing X, Y, and Z mission, and he's just watching from afar. I think he'll interact with Owen, and I think he'll interact with Beru, because that wizard, he's such a crazy old wizard, right? Like, I think that there's interactions where he'll try to do certain things. He's like, hey, let me take Luke real quick, or something like that, and he won't let it happen. So I think that you'll see the reason why Owen, this is what I'm hoping in my headcanon, and what I'm hoping to see is that, but I hope that there's not a lot of interaction with a young Luke, because their interactions are awkward in A New Hope. And if he was more friendly with Ben Kenobi, then I don't think that those interactions would be as awkward. If he had more knowledge of Ben, if he had a better relationship with Ben, that interaction and that talk in the home would not have been as kind of awkward as I feel like, as I read it is. Like, I feel like go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Brent. There's enough familiarity though. And then when you go back and you read the canon comics on it, if I'm not mistaken, Joe, I think there's actually an arc in the comic books which again, I would argue is visual, because there's pictures, right? They're not moving pictures, but they're pictures, Brent. So give it a shot. But there's actually an arc in that comic where Beru and Owen get kidnapped at some point, and Obi-Wan goes and rescues them and gets them back. But it creates this tension, bad blood between Owen and so to what you're talking about. I think there's going to be moments like that where you see, because this is a limited series, correct? It's not going to be ongoing series.
Yeah. I would say like 4 to 6 episodes at the most.
Yeah.
And so I think they're going to there has to be some sort of rising action which is it's not just going to be, sad ruminations of an old man out in the desert. Even as cool as that would be, there's going to be some sort of action. And I would imagine it has something to do with Kenobi trying to not come all the way out of hiding, but also saving Beru, Owen, possibly young Luke in some capacity. That's speculative, but maybe.
I have a couple things from people that I've interviewed and talked with, and Mark Newbold of Fanta Tracks, he had a great idea. He said, let's do a limited show, see how it goes. Ewan, is going to do great. So let's see this. And there's nothing that says 10 years from now, because Ewan just turned 50 on March 31st, same day as Mark Newbold of Fanta Tracks. They both turned 50 then. So he said, there's nothing to say in 10 years when he's 60 that you can't go do another 4 episodes of him 5 years or 6 years, just a few years before A New Hope, with adding more onto it and do stuff. So I thought that was a really good take on that. And then Steve Lawson, he said, you know what? I think you will see a young Luke on there. He said, whether it's near or far, you will see one. But we talked about a young lady who's a character. Her first name is Moses. I don't remember her last name, but she put on Twitter or Instagram,
oh yeah,
I get to play with lightsabers now. And so people were like, well, this is a young Ahsoka. It's a young Ahsoka. And Steve brought up a good point. He goes, I think it's more probably an Inquisitor. And it's somebody of an Inquisitor that Obi-Wan has to defeat or whatever, who's out searching for this kind of stuff. So I thought that was a really good idea too. So I'm down with all of it. You guys know I love Obi Wan Kenobi, so I'm just excited to see the show. Mass, any thoughts on it before we go ahead, Brent?
I was just gonna say, so about the whole movies versus, like, you guys have an extensive background in the books. I'm just getting into the books, and so from my perspective of fandom, from my perspective, I don't have that knowledge of those timelines. I don't have a knowledge of Owen, and that's why when I say in my head canon, because I don't have the experience. I don't know that Luke found Obi-Wan's notebook and read through the notebook. Literally 2 minutes ago was the first time I'd heard that, right? So I don't have any of that knowledge. Like, it doesn't exist in my Star Wars, right? So that's why I say it's my Star Wars, because my Star Wars universe is different from your guys' Star Wars universe. So that's why when I say that it's like, I call it the dark side, and I don't read the books. I'm reading the books, but it still doesn't necessarily change the way that I view my Star Wars. There are stories that I think about, and I can kind of incorporate them in, but it's not changing what I consider to be my Star Wars, which is the movies and the cartoons and the stuff that I've watched. So it's so my interpretation of it, and you have more interpretation. And like you said, you've read the book, Kenobi book, and you saw those interactions with Owen and Beru. So that's where I'm coming from on that. Like, yeah, I'm getting into them. I'll read. I don't know about the comics. It's going to take.
You have to use your eyeballs. You got to use your eyeballs.
It's almost a leap. I'm listening to the audiobooks. I just finished. I finished 3 of the. I like the old. Like, I'm trying to do the old stuff. Like, I'm like, so the Bane books, and then like now I'm doing the Old Republic. I heard you talk to Riley Blanton, so I downloaded Shatterpoint, but I didn't realize it's an abridged version because it was about Mace Windu, and I kind of want to just know a little bit more about Mace Windu because I've always kind of enjoyed that dude. You talked about Captain Phasma and her book, and I don't know if
Alfie did. I think
I think it was Nick. I think it was Nick.
I would suggest that, as goofy as that sounds, and I know it'll probably catch flack somewhere because her character didn't flush out in the sequels, but I read that book and I was like, this is cool.
So anyway, so I feel like and I'm not the only one that is only just a visual guy. I listen to the other podcasts, and there's more like me.
There are. There are.
So I'll stand up but I just also want to say, like, that's where I come from. So that's why I don't want him to have that, because I feel like when I read that interaction, it doesn't read like they know each other. It doesn't read like they had an extensive interaction. Like, I think he knows of him. He's that creepy old dude. It's kind of like Boo Radley from what's the name of the movie? What's the name of the book?
To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yep.
To Kill a Mockingbird. He's kind of like Boo Radley. They know that Boo Radley exists, but he's that creepy dude in the corner. Right? Like, so anyway, so go ahead, Mass.
Anything Obi-Wan?
No, you guys pretty much covered it all. I'm just really looking forward to it.
Well, we have a few other hot points I'll just get to real quick. One, Nick sent me something about I even saw it on Twitter after that. Keanu Reeves in a future Star Wars, if it's him playing a Revan or a Darth Bane or somebody like that, count me in. I think it would be cool. I mean, I love what he did in John Wick. Mass turned me on to those. So if he's going to be cool like that, and I'll take it. I don't care. I mean, as long as he's not doing his things from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Yeah, I mean, I'm good. So
Parenthood.
Yeah, Parenthood. Yeah. Nick, go ahead.
In that article too, it's talking about how he's being signed on to do voice acting for something. So what I would be curious in is what's coming down. They made a whole point in the article about, and I fact checked because I was like, what yokel in his shack is, tweeting about him being cast in something, but it was like a Disney insider kind of article. And they were talking about how he got cast for voice acting in something that's going to take place in the Old Republic, but it wasn't in the whole Kathleen Kennedy list of shows that came out.
I don't know about you guys, but I like the animated series pretty much as a lot of the movies and the other shows. So if he's doing voiceover work for some good animated series, I'm okay with that too.
Let's not forget also that Lucasfilms just announced that they're going to release games as well. And they're also talking about making an open world game. So there's a possibility that they might be making an open world game in the Old Republic era. Speculation, just throwing it out there. But if he is going on as voice acting, understand that don't throw that.
Sure. Don't
discount the video game world, and because that's $1 billion industry. It's almost better than movies at this point.
Yes, because you don't have to have a large group of people together and they can interact over the internet and play the games and all that kind of stuff. So you're right, it is huge. One last thing that everybody was hitting me with yesterday, I was coaching the game, and Joey and Alfie, I'm getting texts, Skywalker Academy, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm in a game. Quit texting me. I'll get back to you shortly. And then I'm like, we come in off the field and I'm like, what do you mean Skywalker Academy? What's going on? So, okay, all we know is they've licensed the term Skywalker Academy, I believe. It could be a game. It could be an animated series. It could be a live action series. Any thoughts at all? What do you want it to be? What do you think it'll be at all with the Skywalker Academy mask? Luke Skywalker is your man. He's been your buddy since the late 70s. Where do you think this is going? And is it even Luke? Is it something else?
I think it is Luke. I think they're trying to bring back some of the extended universe because he ran a success in that world. He ran a successful Jedi Academy, and that's one of the things that still bothers me. But when they went to The Last Jedi, and he's this broken man.
Yep.
People like Brent, who just rely on the movies. They didn't know all the great things that he did in those books. I mean, how powerful of a Jedi he was. So I do think it's going to be Luke, and I hope it's a live action series, but we'll see.
Would you be okay with someone else playing him, or do you want to see a de-aged Mark Hamill play him if it's a live action?
Either way, I keep hearing
Sebastian
Stan.
Sebastian Stan, yes, I keep hearing his name.
The Winter Soldier.
I'm okay with that, but I really liked. I hope that they would stick with Mark Hamill and whatever they did to him in the Mandalorian, because I really enjoyed that. I mean, I thought that was one of the coolest things that I've seen in a while, and yes. I didn't expect it.
Steve Dawson, when we were talking last week, said, okay, I might not like everything that Disney's doing with Star Wars, but I have seen the Vader I wanted to see at the end of Rogue One, and I've seen the Luke that I wanted to see in the last episode of Mandalorian season 2. He goes, so really, we'll see where they go from here. He said, but I did see those two things. So I thought that was a really good point. Nick, go ahead. Thoughts on Skywalker Academy?
Is there any merit to, you think, believing that Skywalker Academy, whatever it could be, could take place after Last Jedi? or excuse me, after Rise of Skywalker.
And that's some theories I've heard as well.
Because my thought,
Rey starting
Yeah.
the Skywalker Academy.
because it could be Rey. The other option too is we got that Rogue Squadron movie coming out in 2023. Is that right?
I
There
believe so.
used to be, what was it? It's still canon, Sky Strike Academy, which was the the TIE fighter training facility. Is this a move away from how good of a Jedi Luke was to also how good of a pilot Luke was? Now this is we call it the Academy of Skywalker Academy, where we train all of our pilots.
Okay. So I think
I don't
I
know.
was going to
So-
say you're fine. You're fine. I think you were saying that like making it a pilot academy and naming it after Skywalker for that.
That's it.
Yeah.
In the same vein as like Sky Strike Academy, now you have Skywalker Academy,
I think
And
I
they-
think the sky's the limit, right?
Yeah.
No reason why it couldn't be.
That
They've
would
already-
suck.
They've already
That would totally suck. That would be a letdown.
they've already
Back-
said
Go ahead,
they've
Brent.
already said that the timeline for that Rogue Squadron movie is post post Rey, post Rise of Skywalker. So it could be it could be that they're creating it for that. I didn't think about it when I first heard about it. Obviously everybody's brain goes to Luke training baby Grogu and Luke training a young Ben Solo and seeing that type of those two kind of interactions. But I didn't think about it until we just talked about it with the signing of Keanu. I would love to see a Jedi Academy video game, or like a Luke Skywalker Academy, or have that as you could choose to be a Padawan and you go through training tutorials and go out on, and then you get hooked up with a Jedi Master of a certain age or whoever it is. It could be a new one, it could be an old one, but I would love to see that as kind of a video game too. Like I can see that there could be a huge potential there for that to be a game.
I think that's very cool. And yeah, there's no reason why it couldn't be. I, a few months back tried that Oculus game. And if you can make it to where you're going through a Jedi Academy wearing those, that and doing everything like you're in universe, wow, that would be fantastic. So yeah, look, all these are good ideas. Go ahead, Mass.
So Kelly's son bought that and he brings it over and I put the thing on and he's like, just hold your hand out. And the lightsaber flips into my hand and I was like, oh shit. You're fighting me for this thing. But I ended up letting him take it home because it was his, but yeah. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I let him take it home.
If I had the extra, well, Lori and I have talked about it, and I've got too much stuff going on in my life now, but maybe in a few years when I've given up some of these crazy extra things I do, maybe having that to where I can go spend time and do that, because I could see where you could get completely zoned out being in that with that mask or goggles or whatever it is on. So go ahead, Brent.
No, Mass, did you play the Vader Immortal one, or did you just play the lightsaber like Dance Dance Revolution where you're smashing boxes?
No, it was the Vader.
Okay.
Vader.
It's
Yeah.
good. It's really
Yeah.
good.
I'm dying to play it. I just
I'd never leave it because there's just so many things you can do. Like Matt said, you put your hand here, there it comes. You go to your holster, you got gun. I mean, it's yeah. You feel like you can just lean on the things you're next to, like, it's just really weird. But my thoughts on the Skywalker Academy, if I'm looking at it, I'm betting money it's either the animated series filling up after Jedi and leading into when Kylo Ren goes bad, or it is Rey starting a new academy after Rise of Skywalker. I think those are the two that stand out to me the most. Somebody I saw on Twitter said, well, they're trying to be like Harry Potter, and if you start an academy, now you can start selling off robes and apparel for the, like, if there's, the Rontos and the Jawas and the, so you, like, instead of Hufflepuff and Gryffindor, you've got whatever as your classes or your groups. And I was like, I did want to buy that crap at Harry Potter Land, So that might not be a bad idea on Disney's idea or part.
But they already have like the dark black robes, or they have like the female robes. They have a stall. I'll call it a stall where you can buy that stuff.
It is small. But think about it, if all of a sudden you've got like a jumpsuit that looks like you're training in an academy, and it's got a logo on it of which group you're with, or I don't know. Just I think it could be a cool thing either way. So I'm down with that. Did anybody else hear something squeak really loud?
Yes.
I heard some go beep.
I did.
Okay.
It must be Shesky because he didn't hear it.
No, what the? Between my internet, I'm just gonna sign off, guys. I'm just gonna sign off.
Oh well, let's hit on this. This is a shortened version of Fulcrum Files. We watched Rebels season 2, episodes 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Rebels, season 2, 6 through 11. And Brent brought up some really good points, and the titles of those were Brothers of the Broken Horn, Wings of the Master, Blood Sisters, Stealth Strike, Future of the Force, and what was the last one? Legacy? Yes, Legacy.
Yeah, Legacy.
And Brent brought up some good points, and I've got his text right here, so I can read them to you, Brent, unless you remember what you wrote or have them in front of you. But I thought there's some really good points about these episodes, and kind of they encapsulate them all into groups here and what they're related to.
Yeah, so in this group, and I think the whole show builds on this idea of family. And I feel like every episode in this one, so you get a Hera episode, you get a Sabine episode, you get a couple Ezra episodes. I think that
Kanan and Rex episode.
A Kanan and Rex episode, right? But so my question is just an overall question that's not necessarily Star Wars heavy, but there's a tie-in to the movies. Like, to you personally, what does it mean to be a family? Because I believe a family is an overarching theme. If you watch these episodes all the way from 6 to 11, this idea of family is there. So what does family mean to you internally? Like, so how do you know you're a part of a family? What do you need to have that feeling of family?
Yeah, I agree with you completely that this show shows that you can take very, very diverse characters and bring them in and basically create a family. You have a Lasat, you have a Twi'lek. Sorry, I always mess that up. You've got humanoids in Kanan and Ezra, and then you've got another humanoid Mandalorian in Sabine. You've got Rex, who's a clone. You've got Chopper, who's a droid, but yet they all come together, and they come from different backgrounds, and there's a hole or a pit or something in each one of them that needs to be filled by this family, in my opinion. Like, this family helps alleviate that void that was in their life, whether it was losing their parents, whether it was being shunned by their people, whether it was having nobody, your entire civilization being wiped out, or being a Jedi who lost his master, who's been on the run. All these different people came together to solve this. So when I'm looking at a family, I've been very blessed. I've been very fortunate. My parents have been married for 50 years. I'm the oldest of 6 brothers and sisters. We are a family. We're a very tight-knit family. There's a bond there just from blood and from history. But at the same time, I look at a group like us, just like the Rebels crew, and we, as a group right here, and you add Alfie and Joey and Vinny and Tony into this group, we are almost as diverse as the Rebels crew, age-wise, Star Wars fandom-wise, family, background, religion, politics. All those things are completely different in all different directions, but yet, just like I would back my family and have their back and put myself on the line for any of them, I do the same thing for this group because of the bond we built over the past year. So I don't think family is one set thing. It can be different varieties of things, but I think, it's that bond. It's that people you love, you trust, you got their back, all those kind of things. And you're right. I think this show, for an animated series, does a great job of showing that right there to all of us over the 4 seasons. Too much? Sorry.
No, Nick or Mass, do you guys have like any other take on that? Like, what do you think? Like, what's family? Because there's a follow-up question to that. I have that too.
Mass?
Oh, go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think I'm with you, Joe. I think there's the only thing I would add to it is it's like a unified purpose, right? So like what I think is interesting is while they're all individually different, what you find is that every character within it has a unified rallying point, which ultimately is hate of the Empire, right? So like you look at Ezra, parents killed by the Empire, right? You look at Kanan on the run from the Empire. You look at Sabine, right? Was used to make these weapons for the Empire ran. You look at Hera, who, the whole Syndulla family has been fighting for generations, right? And so, but I think the only thing I would add to it is, yes, it's the bond of the closeness, but specifically for these guys, it's like a common purpose together that brings us together initially, and then it expands out even into now we're not just doing this because we're trying to take on the Empire, but we're doing this because we care about one another, right? So it's the common purpose that brings them together. And then, so it's no different than a football team, right? Or any sort of sports team where we come together because we have this unified purpose, and along the journey, man, you're my brother, or you're, my friend, or you're, whatever. So I think that purpose is so crystal clear at the beginning. And then by the end, we're not there yet, but you just see these people come together, or droids, or Twi'leks, or Twi'leks, or however you say it.
Mass?
It's family is really the people that you want to spend your time with, the people that you love. And so, yeah, I mean, that happens in Rebels. The original trilogy had its little family, prequels had its little family. And yeah, that's what I think it is.
So the other part of the question, or the follow-up question as I was thinking about it, is, so how do we as outsiders recognize that there is a family going on, right? So, and I'll kind of bring up points from the show. So you had one of the episodes, I think it was the first episode that we watched, 6, with Brothers in Arms, Hondo and Lando, or for the Hondo Lando conversation, which one of my Star Wars Legion guys brings up all the time. He said he was driving around and he sat in his car and had an argument with us about the Hondo Lando. So, but anyway, so Hondo and Ezra, and he said at the very end of it, look, if you would have asked me a year ago, I would have joined you. But I found people basically. And I would have joined you, but now I have people. If you go to the next one where you have Kanan and Rex, they didn't trust each other, but by the end of that episode, Rex said, go. I'll say, like, go. I don't care. Get out of here. And he laid his life on the line to make sure that Kanan could get out of there.
Yep.
You go to another episode where you have Sabine talking to her old bounty hunter friend, and she says,
Ketsu Onyo, right? Is that her name?
Yeah. And she worked with the Black Sun, right?
Yes.
Like she would,
yes.
So which was the whole Maul, Dryden Voss people, right?
They were Crimson Dawn.
Crimson Dawn.
Oh, my bad.
But Black
rival
Sun,
syndicates.
They're in that same world,
Yeah.
right? They're in that same, okay. But anyway, she says, like, after they finally finish the mission, she says to her old bounty hunter friend, is like, look, these people stuck their neck out for me. I got to stick with them. Like, all of those little interactions in each one of those different episodes. And then basically going back to the Inquisitor, like I skipped over one, I think, the Inquisitor episode where they steal the kids.
Yep.
All of that was just to try to reunite those families. So all of this, like this theme of family, I felt was really strong in this one. But how do we as viewers recognize that there's a family? Like, so you guys all talked about like what it means to be a family, but how can we as a viewer recognize that there's a family? Because I think that that's what draws some people into the Rebels. And I noticed that Mass left off one of the trilogies, and I think that No, and I know that. And
that was
like,
not an accident.
No, and I feel like that was a purpose, but it also is kind of where I was going with this. And it's not necessarily a knock, but I think it's one of the things that people, they don't get that sense of family from those characters.
Yeah.
It wasn't there. And so how do we know, like, how do you know as a viewer that this is a family, and how can we buy into that family? I guess is where I'm coming from. Like that's the deep thought that I had as I was watching all of this.
Well, and I think, I look at it, and we're obviously not to the point of the further episodes with sacrifice, but I think, you see the sacrifices in the prequels, the sacrifices in the original trilogy, the sacrifices in in Rebels, where people put themselves on the line or give up their lives or different things like that, which we did see that in the sequels, but it was with the character who we didn't even know, right? Like, you had Admiral Holdo come in and do exactly what you would want someone to do in that tight knit, I'm doing this for you, I'm saving you. But we got to know her for 5 minutes, and then she did that, While again, you could say that about Obi Wan Kenobi in A New Hope, but he was that father figure all the way through with Luke. You could tell that they was trying to mentor him, and there was that bond and everything like that. So I think the sacrifice, and I think later on we see that, with what Kanan does. I mean, it's just, so the sacrifice is a huge part of it. And you see people that are willing to make that sacrifice in here. But I think family, I look at it and say, I know in my family, we have way ups and downs. My brothers and sisters, my mom and dad, everything like that. With my wife and my kids, you have ups and downs, but you're there for them. You're able to tease them. You're able to joke with them. Well, look what all these guys do, right? In Rebels, they're constantly sticking to each other, jabbing each other. That camaraderie is being built, but they're still there for each other. So in today's modern society where people are all like, hey, what is a family? The question you're asking, I think, again, Rebels does a good job of saying it doesn't have to be that mom, dad, 3 kids and a dog. That's okay. It's great for a picture, but a family is a group of people, like Nick said, like-minded, having a purpose, caring for each other, having each other's back. I see it all throughout Rebels, and you see the ups and downs, and then you see those points as well. So I know it's long-winded. Sorry.
No, Joe, that's so good. And I would add on to it. I think, Brent, your question of how do we know that we're seeing a family? If I'm remembering this correctly, and I did a quick search just because I didn't want to misspeak on it, but I feel watching this back, Kanan, Hera, because of their romantic relationship, play the kind of figurehead roles that it does feel after a while like everybody kind of fits this role within, while it's not like, hey, biological family, you do see them kind of play these roles. And it's I looked it up, it's the Siege of Lothal, which is the beginning of this season, where Hera is flying the ship, they're all doing their separate things, and she actually uses the line, she says, all right, kids, do mom and dad proud, right? And she kind of speaks directly to them. And it's a very non-subtle nod towards like, we're a family. This is what we do. But I just think it's interesting that they go as far to say that, to almost reinforce this, like, nope, this isn't just the ragtag group now. This is a unit that is together. That's how I see it.
And Brent, you're asking these questions, and I know you like Rebels as much as I do. What are your thoughts? What draws you in? Because I knew after you watch this, it was like mass watching Mando. You were like, Rebels clicks with me. I mean, I could sense it.
Yeah.
So I mean, what are your thoughts on these things right here? Because I know how much you enjoy it.
No, I mean, I like watching the Rebels, and I like watching that. I can sit and watch these 30-minute shows till the cows come home. I love it. And I just don't know. I mean, I agree with all of what you're saying about the family. I just wanted to see if I could get some discussion going on something that's a little bit deeper, because that's kind of where I get when I sit and watch something over and over again. Family is, I like what Nick said about the single purpose, but there's that camaraderie, there is that group, and it doesn't have to be just bloodline family, right? Like a lot of people would look at it as a bloodline. Now these are a group of friends or family. Like when I was growing up, when I first what is it? The TV show Friends, like the TV show Friends, that was their family. Like when I got my first real job, I lived in Phoenix, Arizona, and we couldn't go home for Thanksgiving because it was too expensive. Came home for Christmas, but there was people that were transplanted that I was with, that there was about 15 people that couldn't travel. So we were like, and for 2 years, that was my family out there. Like, and I created that family, and it was the first time that I ever had that. So it's what you put into the relationship, right? Like, I feel like whatever you put in and whatever you value, but the other part of it is thinking about it, because I was thinking about that. I don't think the connection was made, and I think that was a major misstep, is there wasn't that sense of family. They wanted to try to create that family, and it either went too fast, it went too quick, I don't know, but there wasn't that love, there wasn't that time to develop that family that I think was a missing from the sequels. And it was like, well, it's here in the Rebels, and Mass illustrated it without me even saying anything, because that's what I was thinking too, is they did a really good job in the original trilogy. You had the Leia, you had Han and Chewie, you had Luke and Leia, you had Luke and Han, you had where they showed that they were willing to sacrifice for each other, and they got put into these environments, and they created that family space. And then the prequels, I don't necessarily see it that, like, I have a hard time seeing that family aspect. I know that, again, I think that was a little bit too fast, a little bit too forced. I'm not a huge Hayden fan, and I just, like, his acting wasn't the greatest. But, like, I didn't necessarily see that strong family unit like the original trilogy does, and I see it in the Rebels. And yeah, go for it, Matt.
Well, I kind of felt why I said the prequels is I felt that, like, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan felt like a family to me. And then at the end, you added on Anakin, and they were going to take care of him. And so that, I'm not a big prequels fan, but I did feel that between those three, that it was going to be like a family.
I feel like Qui-Gon wanted to take care of Anakin, but I don't think Obi-Wan ever wanted to take care of Anakin.
It got put on him.
Right. Yeah. And I don't think he ever enjoyed it. Like, I don't think even through the whole arc was ever really excited that Anakin was, I mean, he was like a brother. Like, he was like a pesky little brother. Get the heck out of here. You're an annoying little brother as well. But I don't know if, like, Qui-Gon truly did want to father him. And I think that whole Filoni diatribe about it.
Yeah. The other thing I was thinking about, Brent, with this is families bring out, I don't know if they bring out, or they allow you to show your weaknesses, and then they accept you for those. They allow you to have faults, and they accept you even with those. And just like we said, each one of these different characters in Rebels was either missing something or hurting or had a void in their life. Each one of them at one point in time did break a little bit. Like, they were at the point of almost breaking, right? I mean, even Sabine later on, where she's about ready to snap because of the Mandalorian stuff. And then Kanan, how many times was he like, I just can't train this kid. I need to run almost like I did when I was a Padawan, and Hera was at a point of breaking for different times and different things, whether it was from her father or later on with Kanan. So, I mean, heck, even Zeb, think about the relationship he built up with Callus, who he hated.
Yeah.
And then also thinking he was the last Lasat, and finding out later on that there's still a hidden batch of them out in the, distant wherever. He was broken and he had flaws, and they still brought him in and got the best out of them, even with having those flaws. And I think that's, I can't tell you how many times, whether as a father, I've done something stupid, said something stupid, not done the best job of taking care of my family or whatever, or being a parent, but they accept that, right? And my family, my parents, I'm sure there was multiple times, and Mass probably remembers lots of them, where I let my parents down or I hurt my brothers and sisters, but they accepted that and said, hey, you're our brother, you're our son, you're our dad, you're our husband. Let's move on. We're a family. We have to keep together. And Rebels, I think, not in the same extent, because they're not married, they're not bloodline, whatever. But because of that joint thing, I see it. I see where they all broke. They all have a common goal. And I think, Filoni, God bless him, he does magic with these series and gets almost like their live action dramas and action movies mixed into one thing in an animated 22-minute show. So,
well, I think they also, not only do they have weaknesses, but they also work to better those weaknesses as well. They
Yes.
look to help each other get stronger through those weaknesses. Like anytime that Kanan was about to break, Hera would be there with a one-liner just to jab him and be like, really? Come on, you're better than that. Kind of like, it's not exactly in those words, but more or less that was her way. And this is the other thing that I think is also intriguing about this. And I know Filoni has said you don't have to tell every story, but every time I watch this, even when I see the Sabine's like, I found them, they gave me a second chance. And I can't remember what that second chance was. Like, and how did they find her? And what did she do to, like, how did she do to get that second chance? How did they collect Zeb? What did they do? How did they find Zeb? What
you
did
want to
they
know
do?
more?
What did they do to collect him? We know how they collected Ezra, right? Because he was there. But and then there is a book about a little bit about how Kanan and Hera came together. But like, how did that whole team get assembled? It's intriguing to me, and I think that's another reason why I like it, because there's more stories there. But I also know, and this is the other thing I think that's intriguing, which is why I like this era, there's another cell out there doing the same thing.
Exactly.
Not in the same way, but there's another cell out there that's fighting the Empire. And I want to know what they're doing too, because they're not the only cell. I mean, they're the one that they're going to highlight because that's what we've chosen. But there's another cell out there that has other stories. And I know that there's other stories to tell of this era about how and then eventually we'll come together as a crew. And that's when they start to form the full-on rebellion. And then you get the New Hope. But there's other pockets out there. I just want that new. I want those new stories.
Well, I would say this, in a shortened version, in an abbreviated version, they did a really good job in Rogue One of doing the same thing. Look at the diverse characters who all had these different backgrounds, who had to come together for a common goal, common bond. And they had their weaknesses, and they showed each other anger and hatred and everything else. And yet still, I mean, look, they're hugging on the beach as they die, right? I mean, and that's awesome.
They created a family, and they did it, and but it seemed like it was fast, right? But it was a believable family.
Yep. Go ahead, Nick.
Or you freeze again.
You can freeze, and we can talk.
So you got Cassian and K2, like you got Cassian and K2, right? So
right.
You got
That's Chewie and Han, yeah.
That's right. So they have that. Go for it, Nick. You're back now.
I'm back. Sorry. I think this moment that you're talking about plays out in the episodes that we watched, and it's at the very end of this where you ask, like, where do you see the family component come in when Ryder Azadi confirms the death of Ezra's parents, right? And he starts crying. For me, it was a stunning moment again where Kanan just walks up and hugs him, right? And doesn't try to fix it, doesn't try to necessarily, a Jedi don't show emotion, don't do that, kind of thing, just hugs him, right? So when you say, they embrace each other's weaknesses, I feel like they put it on display at the end of that episode to go, hey, arguably the thing that he's been pining for to find the most, and his teacher comes alongside and they could have just said, there's that part where he comes back and he's like, the Jedi believe that death doesn't end, but we're transformed through the Force, right? They could have just said that, but even that just show of emotion of, oh, I get it, kid, I'm with you, let me give you a hug. I thought it was very cool.
Well, even in the episode, I believe that forgive me which episode, but Kanan even says, I don't know what it feels like because I don't even know who my parents were.
Yep.
That's
like, so he just wanted to show he wanted to provide that support because he doesn't know what that feels like, because he never met his parents, because he was a foundling, or he was somebody that was taken to the Jedi Temple and he was raised in the Jedi Temple. So he doesn't even know what that feeling is that Ezra's feeling.
Agreed. I don't know, Brent, I think this was great. And I like this. So we could watch these, not have to hit point by point, because there were some good points in there. There were some cool things. Like you mentioned, the B-Wing, that's awesome. Seeing Hondo hop in and out, that's awesome. Seeing that Sabine had a little side story that we didn't know, right? I mean, those kind of things are really cool. Seeing Kanan and Captain Rex work together on something, all good parts. And again, Brent, you and I have always talked about, we want to keep seeing growth, right, in each of these episodes. And these episodes did a really good job of expanding the characters, expanding the depth of the story, bringing in the B-Wing, which obviously helped the rebellion in the long run. So I love it. I tell you what, we've gone long on the show tonight, and it's probably because we all haven't been back together in a while. Anybody have any closing thoughts? Anything you want to hit before we sign off and get ready for next week? Anything like that? Brent, I'll let you start up.
I just want to thank Joe for having the podcast, because it is a welcome reprieve. Had a terrible day today, and it was awesome to have the conversation about Star Wars. The second thing that I will add is they just released for T-Bob's X-Wing game a Harrison Dula B-Wing and a Ahsoka Tano A-Wing squadron for the X-Wing game. So it's a brand new unit that just came out, but it is the actual B-Wing from this episode, from this series.
You'll have to tag T-Bob on Twitter.
T-Bob.
He'll love it. Yes. Show him we know what he likes there. Nick, anything you want to hit before we close shop?
No, I love doing the podcast. I will say the only thing is I got two. One, we're talking about doing another Clone Wars Chronicles at some point, talking about potentially doing another arc from season 1 that may favor a character that you will rip your headphones out when we talk about this one. So I'll just
Darth Maul?
give you that. Nope, not Darth Maul. Oh. I'll just leave it at that. And Sam is now on Twitter. My internet cut out earlier when we were saying that. You can follow him at Chopper Base. At Chopper Base.
I like it.
The Wanderer is his name on there. Very subtle, just trying to hide himself from everybody.
You got it.
Good luck, Sam.
We'll keep it good and clean for you, Sam. Mass, any closing thoughts?
Yeah. Okay. Who is it, Nick? Who's the character that I'm going to
Lisa, think you're not going to like that episode. Just put it at that.
Misa think you're not.
Misa think.
Yeah.
I must know. Oh my God.
This is a slightly inappropriate meme, but have you seen the meme where Obi-Wan was talking to Padme and she's like, I'm pregnant. And he's like, and Obi-Wan said, who's the father? Like, and it's like him facing away, and Padme say, it's Anakin. He's our Obi-Wan says, Anakin, isn't it? And Padme said, no, Misa been a bad girl.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
It'll be great, I promise.
Luke's half Jar Jar, huh?
Gosh.
Misa been a bad girl.
Guys, this has been great. It's been a long day. I appreciate you guys putting up with it. I'm glad I could sneak in and get this done. And Nick, looking forward to your next Clone Wars Chronicles. We will have a guest next week. We will have Gecko the Bounty Hunter, Dominic Pace, who was in, I believe, episode 1 and episode 3 of The Mandalorian. So let's do our research. Let's be ready to go, because we want to talk to him. He's going to be on a comic book toy store tour all this summer, and hopefully we can meet up with him when he comes through the Midwest. So he'll be our guest next week, and then we're talking to some other people about doing some things together. So, but anyway, you guys have been great. Thank you for doing this, and I'm gonna go spend a little time with wife and kids and dogs, because I miss them. I don't get to see them that much right now. But hey, everybody, keep following us at Rule the Galaxy SW on Twitter. Email us at rulethe.galaxy@gmail.com. Follow us on YouTube. Check us out. We're having fun. You can watch all of our silliness right here. And until next week, may the Force be with you.